You spend a lot of time with Aaron Rodgers. He's at that celebrity thing in Tahoe, and he looks like he can golf and looks like he's a real big-time athlete. You know, I like I just said, I want Aaron to be around for 5 or 6 years. I want him to be Brady. Do you think he is? Do you think he's a guy that he is going to be in his 40s and playing? Does he love football that much, Peter?
I think he does, Colin. He told me, I want to play till I'm 40, but I want to be able to move around. I want to be in good enough shape. I don't really want to play till I'm 45. My premise really with Aaron Rodgers, Colin, is very simple. I've always thought that he's this guy who's got a lot of interests outside of football. I mean, in this offseason alone, as I wrote this morning in my column, that, you know, he's seen the Dalai Lama. He's been to Africa to help outfit kids with hearing aids. He swam with a blue shark off the Pacific coast near San Diego. So, I mean, there's a lot of other things he wants to do in his life, and he will, but he definitely wants the next 5 or 6 years to play football at a high level.
So you, the Hall of Fame situation with T.O. Now, it is very easy to criticize T.O. Many have. I think I'm more bothered by the institution being equally petty and not mentioning him, you know, as if he doesn't exist. Where do you land on that?
I agree with you. I think that the Hall of Fame ought to treat Terrell Owens the same as they treat every person who is enshrined on that weekend. I don't think it makes the Hall of Fame look good to diminish Owens' role in the Hall of Fame festivities.
You know, with T.O., you know, I've kind of, you know, and people, when I say this, I say the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Marlon Brando did not show up for the Oscars. We've had, I mean, 50. David Bowie didn't show up, Hall of Fame stuff, rock and roll. I'm okay with an occasional diva football player. But when you talk to Hall of Famers, how does it land to them?
I saw a couple of them in Tahoe, and I'll tell you, they're really ticked off. And they're mad at Owens for not showing up, and they think it's not just an insult against the Hall of Fame, but it's an insult against them, meaning these Hall of Famers. I don't really see it that way, but I do think, Colin, that, and again, I know this is overly simplistic, but I do think Owens is going to look back in 15 years and say, what did I do? If he doesn't, I'm not sure he's very bright. I'm bothered by the fact that it's such a flippant thing that he thinks because he didn't get in till his 3rd year that he's the only great player in NFL history who didn't get in his 1st year. I forget how many. It's like 100 got in the 1st year. You know, there's 200 and something other Hall of Famers who did not get in year 1. Does that diminish their greatness? Does that make their bronze bust a little less bronze or a little less formidable? No. No one walks through the Hall of Fame and says, oh, Harry Carson, he got in his 7th year. He's not as worthy as Brett Favre. Oh, Lynn Swann, Ron Yeri, they didn't get in till their, whatever, 14th or 15th year. They're not real Hall of Famers. It's ludicrous.
One of the things the NFL offers that the NBA does not is healthy parity. I mean, outside the Patriots, we really don't know who's going to be in the playoffs. We figure Pittsburgh will. We like Philadelphia. But year to year, you know, there's these wild swings. I want to talk about a team that I think could really be in trouble. And they're the rare team that has the right quarterback and I think could be a mess, and it's the Raiders. We got a head coach that's been out of the sport for a decade. I may like Jon Gruden personally, but I don't think you can leave Silicon Valley for 3 years and come back and be Mark Zuckerberg. I don't think you can leave industries for 10. Forget. Football's very fluid. What do you think's going to happen there? Lame duck stadium, city, Reggie McKenzie, a very thoughtful, smart guy, and Gruden don't appear to be on the same wavelength. What happens in the next year there, in your opinion?
What a great question. I think this is an incredible chemistry experiment with the Raiders for many of the reasons that you say, but there's one other one I think too, Colin, that in all the years that Jon Gruden coached, he really didn't develop a young quarterback into being a great quarterback. Now he's got a really good young quarterback. And the question is, how will they mesh? How will he and Carr mesh? Is it going to be a good marriage? If that's a good marriage, the Raiders will be able to win 10 games any year there. But if it isn't, if it doesn't work, they could be in trouble there. I don't know. To me, that's a great story this year. How Gruden works with Carr and how, after all those years, what does he still have on his fastball coming back?
You're going to go, you return your NFL training camps tour, which I love every year. It's probably exhausting and daunting for you, but I win as a consumer, so I like it. And you pick teams based, I presume, on some potential storyline. Give me a couple of places you're going this year and why.
Well, I'm going to the third preseason game in Indianapolis between the 49ers and Colts. Okay, because I want to see Andrew Luck when he's supposed to be playing, say, 8 series and getting ready in his final tune-up before the season. How will his arm be? What will he do? On the other side of the field, I want to see Jimmy Garoppolo. That place, Indianapolis that weekend is going to really fascinate me. Probably the camp that really interests me the most this year of all of them. And again, there's going to be a lot of good stories no matter where you go. But the one camp that I'm really looking forward to, I think, is Cleveland. Because I want to see whether all of these great picks, all of these high picks, can be formed, can be mixed around by Hugh Jackson, now John Dorsey, into a bowl, and can they be competitive? I mean, they're going to be the youngest team in football, most likely.
Yeah.
Can they be competitive and finally start to climb the ladder? Colin, I have to tell you this. I was in Cleveland for the draft. We all have this impression of the Cleveland Browns fans that, they'll always be there, they're great. I got to tell you something. They're getting tired of this. Fans in Cleveland are getting really tired of this. This year, they've got to win 5, 6, 7 games to show the fans that, hey, there is hope. We're tired of waiting and just hoping. So that is a place that I'm really excited to go to.
By the way, before we go, I'm from the Pacific Northwest, but I feel like Pete Carroll's got a year on that contract. Richard Sherman came out this weekend and said they've lost their way. And I don't know if Richard Sherman's wrong, Peter. The offensive line is still a work in progress. They lost Richardson, their best speed receiver. I don't love their running backs. They kind of rolled the dice in a first rounder, perhaps overdrafted. This sounds crazy, right? But is Pete Carroll, if they're 500, he's got 1 year left, Peter. Could he be in trouble?
I think it depends how that 1 year goes, because what Pete Carroll has to do this year is he has to not only rebuild the Legion of Boom, but he also has to make sure that finally, they're able to, and now Tom Cable's not there, so they don't have to use him as an excuse anymore. And I don't think he was the problem at all. I think talent on the offensive line was a problem. Russell Wilson, in his career, has been hit more than any quarterback percentage-wise per game than any starting quarterback in football. And there's a reason for that. It's not just because he holds on to the ball for a long time. It's because they've had a sieve for an offensive line. To me, that has to change this year. And I think if the secondary is slow in coming around and they're a sieve again on the offensive line, hey, nothing is guaranteed for 2019 for Seattle.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.